New memoir from a Manitoba author and journalist has taken the reader to a small Manitoba farming community. It delves into the story of writer Rosalie I. Tennison's life growing up in the 1950s in the Swan River Valley. The new memoir is titled Naomi's Houses. Joining us now is author and journalist Rosalie I. Tennison. Good morning, Rosalie.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us. Now, this book, it's a beautiful cover. Congratulations. You're an award-winning journalist. You wrote many different columns, many different stories about growing up, and you sort of wanted to put them together in a book. Tell me a little bit why you wanted to write a memoir.
Well, I've always wanted to write a book. I think my mother thought I would write children's books, but the idea of a memoir started settling in a few years ago, and it culminated in a move to Winnipeg. I lived in Ontario, and I moved back to Winnipeg. And moving back sort of home brought home the whole idea of like looking for a house, looking for a place to live, and how the choices I made for what I eventually picked, a lot of them were influenced by the houses that I grew up in as a child, and that's when the memoir started to gel, and hence Naomi's Houses was born.
And this is Naomi is your mom.
Yes.
And there was more than one house, obviously, per the title. Explain to me a little bit about these homes that you grew up in and how they really influenced your childhood.
Well, I think there's a slight difference in that between home and house. And so we lived in houses. My mother tried to make it a home. You know, our first was a farmhouse. You know, like a lot of people, I think a lot of people that grew up in rural communities could relate to these farmhouses that, you know, leaked and, you know, were cold in the winter, and we had wood stoves and no running water. And so that was the first one. And then my father died when I was 6, and we moved into a town, and all we could afford was a kind of a ramshackle house, and that's all we had. And we got a few perks, like we got running water, but it also ran in places we didn't want it, like you know, through the roof and things like that. So then juxtaposing that with my grandparents, my mother's parents' home, which was built in the 1940s and had everything and was, you know, comfortable and warm, and so that's what kind of got me thinking about like houses and what houses can mean and whether they can be a home, which was where my mother came in. She took these ramshackle, falling down buildings and made them into homes for her children, especially when she became a single mom.
But you grew up angry, and then when you went back home and you thought about your mom, you realized that your mother had a larger influence on your life. Tell us a little bit about the love story, the love for your mom that you delve into this book.
Well, I think one of the things about memoir is you know, you can write it from an angry point of view, or you can write it from I think a maybe more mature point of view. And so I probably couldn't have written this memoir until I reached the age I am now, because you do have a lot of growing up to do. You don't understand what your parents are dealing with. And I think even now, at the age I am, what my mother was going through at this age. And I think that's a really telling part about writing a memoir, is that you can blame everybody, but maybe they were just making tough choices.
You're emotional when you talk about this, and you will be definitely telling more of your story tonight at McNally Robinson at 7 p.m. Thank you so much for spending some time with us this morning. Naomi's Houses, written by Rosalie I. Tennison, is available at McNally Robinson. You will be there tonight at 7 p.m. Thank you so much, Rosalie.